Today on Stock Charts in Focus, we're talking about the latest enhancements to ACP, specifically taking a look at the ChartList drawer. That's the space at the bottom of the screen that you use to work with your chart lists. Now we've just added some important new features, moved some critical components down to the bottom of the screen, made that space even more powerful for you. So we're going to show you how these latest changes are going to boost your workflow, especially with chart lists in ACP. So lots to cover on today's show. Of course, you know what it is. It's all new. It's all here. It's Stock Charts in Focus. All right, my friends, welcome to the show, Stock Charts in Focus. Thank you so much for joining me here on our product focus show. Of course, every week digging into the site, diving into the features, showing you around the tools, helping you get more value out of Stock Charts. That is our mission here on Stock Charts in Focus every Friday. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new to the show, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. Good to have you though. And on a day like today, we're really digging into what's new. You know, we cover a ton on this show, whether it's new features, new tools, new content, or just taking a look at some existing features, showing you how to dig into some of those different corners of the site and get more value out of all that Stock Charts has to offer. But today we are digging into something that is brand new, something that I am so excited about. Some big enhancements to the drawer. Now that is the space at the bottom of ACP, the bottom of the platform. Really the space that you use to work with your chart list, but also a space that you can use to watch Stock Charts TV right from ACP, and also a space that you can use to trade directly from ACP with our Tradier brokerage integration. So that drawer, an incredibly powerful, incredibly important space. And now with some of these latest changes, we're kind of emphasizing that space in the platform. As you'll see, we've added something to it. We've really enhanced that space. So I'm excited to walk you through this on today's show. Now, one of the other things that's getting me really excited is that I've been talking to the team. I've seen some of the roadmaps, seen some of the things that we are going to be bringing to ACP through this drawer space now that we've kind of done this first level of updating. And it is big. We're going to be adding some new chart list views. We're going to be adding more space for plugins down the road. So tons and tons of stuff that we're going to be doing with this drawer space. And this is really kind of step one. But we've really enhanced it. Very excited to show you some of the new additions, new things that you can do through this chart list drawer. Really all designed to enhance your workflow with chart lists. So we got a ton to cover. Let's get right to it. So here we are in ACP, of course, our interactive advanced charting platform, brand new, rolled this out on Stock Charts not too long ago. We have been continuing to enhance and improve this new addition to the site, really building more features in here, working with external partners to bring you plugins. We've got lots happening in that plugin landscape, but really it's designed to bring you a dynamic, fluid charting experience. One that also brings in a lot more. So it's not just about looking at one chart at a time. Here in ACP, you can create multi-chart layouts, up to 12 charts on the screen over here on the left. You also have all of your data views built right into the platform. So you've got your market summaries, you've got your market movers, scooter reports, even things like the ticker cloud. Really, all of the features that you want to use around Stock Charts are intended to be built right into ACP so that it can really be kind of a one-stop shop for you. So a lot to explore there. If you are not familiar with ACP, if this is kind of your first time seeing it, definitely spend a little bit of time checking out the platform. Go back and review some of the episodes that we've done on this show as well. We've covered ACP in great detail. But today, what we're talking about is the drawer at the bottom of the screen. We're going to talk about how this latest round of updates to that drawer is going to really enhance your workflow, especially with chart lists. So before we dive in there, I want to give you a little bit of background on kind of what we've done and why we've done it. Now, it's interesting to me, you know, when you're building a product like this, the things that you learn along the way. This is really a user-driven decision here to improve the drawer, to bring some more features to it. We've heard a lot of feedback from people saying, hey, I love that drawer space and I'd love to get a little bit more out of it. So that's really what we've done. Now, when we first launched ACP though, ChartLists as a concept, the list where you store all of your saved charts, the lists where you store different symbols that you're watching, build up your watch list, manage your portfolios, all of that good stuff. All of your chart lists really lived over on the right side of the screen. So over here on the right, at the very top, we have our ChartLists icon, the little user with the chart arrow in there. So that is the ChartLists sidebar. And since launching ACP, this has really kind of been the primary space to work with your lists. Of course, at the bottom, you have all of your actions. You can create new chart lists, but you can also add symbols to those chart lists. You can edit those chart lists. You can delete those chart lists. You have your menu up at the top to choose between all of the different chart lists that you've created in your account. And here, of course, most importantly, you have all of the charts that you've saved into any of those lists. So you can click on any of these to access those charts. You also have little action menus right here. So if you want to edit the name, add comments, move anything, merge anything, apply a different style to something, all of that is available to you right here in the sidebar. Of course, you also have some important actions like our multi-chart mode features, the load symbol only checkbox. There's a lot in here. This is also where you can access your SharpCharts chart lists. So you can click over to this tab and actually access all of the chart lists that you saved with SharpCharts, kind of outside of ACP. So if you're a SharpCharts user, you're interested in exploring ACP, seeing what the new platform can do for you, but you don't want to go through the process of recreating all of your charts, that's why we built this kind of SharpCharts automatic import feature, which pulls in basically ACP versions of all of your SharpCharts, puts all of your SharpCharts lists right there for you, and allows you to access those charts here in ACP. Of course, at the bottom of that sidebar as well, you have a save as ACP chart list feature. So you can actually take some of those existing SharpCharts chart lists from outside of ACP and quickly and easily save all those lists right to ACP, create kind of ACP versions of those lists. So this has been the primary space to work with your chart lists. But we've heard a lot of people saying, hey, I love that drawer space at the bottom. Gives me a little bit more room to work, gives me a little bit more data in the tables, a little more space to kind of edit my chart lists and see things. You know, I'd love to do more with that space at the bottom of the platform. So we've taken some of that feedback and incorporated it into this latest round of updates. So at the bottom of ACP, what you will now see is a bar that goes at bottom, which is what we call the drawer header. This is kind of the top of the drawer. Now we're going to walk through this really quickly, talk about some of the features in here. Then we'll actually open up the drawer and show you what's within. At a high level, what the drawer gives you is an enhanced version of that sidebar panel that we were looking at over on the right. Now, that sidebar panel not going anywhere, that will always be there. If you like working with your chart list out of the sidebar, that is still very much in play. You are still more than welcome to keep doing that. We're going to continue to enhance that sidebar as well with some other features, data views, that kind of thing. But we have this space at the bottom of the screen, which is the drawer, which gives you a little bit more room to work. So what you will now see at the bottom of the screen is this black bar that is across the screen that's going to be there when you first come to ACP. Now, there are a couple of things in that bar. First off, you know that this is the chart list view because, again, you've got that little chart lists icon down in the bottom left side of the drawer. Again, that matches the icon that you see up in the sidebar. So that should tell you kind of where you are. Now, right next to that, you actually have a menu that allows you to access all of your chart lists. So this is the Select Chart List menu. You can open that up to select any of your chart lists. We'll do that in just a second. We've moved the Save feature down to the drawer header, as we'll show you in just a minute. We also have a small version of that up here at the top of the screen. So before this week, the main save button, the way that you would actually save charts to your account, was right up here at the top. We sort of duplicated that. We've moved the primary save button down to the bottom of the screen in the drawer header where it's kind of right next to your chart list, as you'll see in a minute. But we have actually kept that small sort of mini save feature right up at the top. So if you have the chart list drawer closed or minimized or anything like that, and you still want to save some charts, you do have that save button right up at the top. Now we've got our multi-chart mode features here, which allows you to switch back and forth between charts, move sort of back and forth within a list, as we'll show you in just a minute. And then on the right side of the drawer header, we've got some drawer controls. So this is how you actually open and close or maximize the drawer. So let's do that right now. We'll dive into the drawer. We'll show you all of the features that are available here. Now, again, when you first come to ACP, what you're going to see is just this black bar going across the bottom of the screen. But when you open that drawer, you actually just click this little arrow right here, and that is going to pop open that drawer from the bottom of the screen. So as you can see, very similar to what we have in that sidebar panel for chart lists, you can actually select your chart list right here. You can save charts. You have your multi-chart mode stuff right there. You've got your load symbol only checkbox, and you've got all of the symbols that you've saved into that list right here. As I mentioned, this is a bit of an expanded view. So in the drawer, because we have more space, we actually bring in quite a few other things. In addition to some of the latest price data, we also bring in volume, we bring in market cap, scooter, and the scooter universes, as well as sector and industry data for anything that you have in a list. Now, all of this can be sorted. So for instance, if you wanted to come into the drawer and sort a specific chart list by market cap, you can do that just by clicking on the column that you want to sort by. We could reverse that sort order as well just by clicking again. So now we're sorting from smallest market cap up to largest market cap. And we can get back to the reverse order of that again just by clicking on that. So anything that we want to sort by, we can click any of these columns. So again, the drawer gives you a little bit more room to work with some of these lists. But now let's start to run through some of these features of the drawer, talk about some of the different aspects of it, different components of it, now that we actually have it open. Again, it's going to be minimized when you first come to ACP, but you can always open that up just by looking for that little arrow. So again, we've got our chart list select menu up here at the top. Now, one of the things that we've built into this is actually a SharpCharts feature as well. So we looked in the sidebar at how we have those two different tabs to choose between ACP chart lists and SharpCharts chart lists. Here in the drawer itself, we've actually put those into one menu. So if you can see up at the very top of this menu, we have a little label that says ACP chart lists. So that's going to group all of my ACP chart lists into one big block. Now, as you scroll through there, you're going to see SharpCharts chart lists as well. So if you're a SharpCharts user and you're coming over here, that might actually be further up. I have a ton of chart lists for ACP and for SharpCharts. I like to work with both platforms. So mine looks a little bit different than yours, but you do have access to all of your SharpCharts chart lists in here as well. We're going to dive into one of those in just a minute, and we'll actually show you how some of those features work. But just know for now, you have access to your SharpCharts chart lists here in the drawer now. That's one of the new things that we've just rolled out. So we'll get back up to our all-time highs in the S&P 1500 list. Now, like I mentioned, you have your save UI right here. So if you do want to save a chart, all you have to do, give that a click. You can choose the list that you want to save it into. You can choose a chart name for that, and you can even add some comments. So saving a chart, very, very easy here in the drawer. And whether you've got this minimized or maximized, open or closed, you can access that save feature right here. By the way, that one up at the top of the screen is going to do the exact same thing. So when you open that up, you can save a chart right from the top of the screen. Now, once I do save a chart, I'll show you this really quickly. If I click on any of these saved symbols in the drawer, that's automatically going to pull up the chart right in the screen. And as you can see, this saved button is going to change. So now, because I'm actually looking at a chart that I have saved into a specific chart list, this is a saved chart, unlike what we were looking at before with ServiceNow. So this is going to change a little bit. Now, there are a couple extra things that I have. So when I click this, I can actually click that saved button again. And if I want to update it, let's say I wanted to change the name or I wanted to save it to a different chart list, I can do all of that here by making sure that I'm on the Update Existing tab. If I wanted to save this as a new chart, maybe move it to a different list, for instance, I can select Save as New, and I've got that option as well. Same kind of concept. You select your list, you set your chart name, and you add any comments that you want. So saving or resaving a chart is very, very easy. Now, if you do want to delete a chart, it's very easy to do that as well. You've actually got that little delete button right here. So if you want to delete a chart from a chart list, very easy to do that. Just click on the save chart, and then you can look for that little trash can icon to delete something. Now, once I've selected a chart from this list, you can see that this is actually going to be highlighted in blue. So this is where I can start to use some of these arrow features, some of the multi-chart mode features. So I can actually use this to page through all of the saved charts in this list. you can see that when I hover over that little arrow to the right, it says load next chart. So I'll give that a click. What that's going to do is load up the next chart in the list. So again, whether you have the drawer open or closed, you actually have this ability to flip through that chart list right from these little arrow buttons. So as you can see, I've selected a save chart from this chart list. And now all I'm doing is kind of flipping through all of the charts in this list. Here we're looking at Accenture now. I'm going to click onto the next chart. That's going to be analog devices. So this allows you to very easily just kind of click through a chart list. And if you want to get back to that chart list, see where you're at, all you got to do is open up that drawer right with that little arrow. So very, very easy to start working with your chart lists. Now we'll talk about the multi-chart mode in just a minute, but this little option that you have here, viewing a chart list in sort of the current layout, that's actually going to apply when you have multiple charts on the screen. So we'll show you that in a minute, but you can turn that on and off just by clicking on that little layout grid. So if I had multiple charts up on the screen and I turn this multi-chart layout mode on, that's actually going to pull in as many charts from the chart list as I can fit into the layout. Again, something that we'll go over in just a minute when we're finished going over sort of the standard views here. Now, from there, what we want to talk about are some of these different tabs. So again, here's your chart list. It's in the drawer. You're working with it. You can sort of flip through using some of these arrow buttons right there, those little arrow icons in the drawer header. A couple other features that you do have available to you here in the drawer. Of course, you've got your load symbol only checkbox. So if you had a funky chart up on the screen, for instance, we'll actually show this in just a second. Here you can see the saved chart. So as you can see, I've saved this chart. This is the style that this saved chart uses. Has a price relative line up at the top of the screen. Let's actually get this to a shorter view. Makes it a little easier to see. We've got our price relative line up at the top of the screen. We've got our candlesticks, and at the bottom, we also have the RSI. That is the chart that I have saved. The indicators, the settings, all of that stuff. The load symbol only checkbox allows you to pull in symbols from a chart list, but without overwriting whatever chart you have up on the screen. So I'll actually pull up a different chart style here. We're going to go to, for instance, my Bollinger Band style. So here you can see I have a different chart type. I use Bollinger Bands on this, and I've got a couple of the Bollinger Band related indicators above and below this. So let's say I had this chart type up on the screen, and I wanted to sort of view everything in a list with this chart type instead of what I've actually saved. Well, all I've got to do is turn on the load symbol only checkbox. And what that tells us is when I click one of these names or the symbol, instead of pulling in the save chart with all of its settings, all of the indicators, all of the styles and everything, we're just going to load the symbol. So as you remember probably from earlier in the show, when we clicked on the advanced auto parts chart, we loaded in that same chart that had the price relative line and the RSI and the candlesticks and everything like that. Now, when I click on this name, because I've got load symbol only turned on, it's going to pull in that symbol, but it's not going to change the chart that I have up in the middle of the screen. So that load symbol only checkbox actually gives you some interesting flexibility, allows you to sort of view your chart list with different charts, apply that without having to resave everything in the list, if that makes sense. So something that I use a lot, especially with multi-chart layouts. When I put a multi-chart layout up on the screen, that load symbol only checkbox can be very helpful. Now, if I turn this off and I click, for instance, Asbury Automotive Group, you'll see that we're going to switch now back to that original chart because this is actually the chart style that I've saved, the chart style that I've associated with this saved chart in this list. So a little bit confusing there, but as you start to play with it, it'll definitely make sense, especially as you're flipping through different chart styles and working with some of those lists. So you now have that available to you here in the chart list drawer, the ability to turn that load symbol only on and off. Now, a couple other things as we run through other features of the drawer. Of course, you've got your little indicator here to tell you how many charts you've actually saved into this list. Over on the right as well, you have some of those features that we were looking at in the sidebar. So you have the ability to add symbols to any chart list. If you create a chart list, you're looking at that in the drawer. You can add one symbol at a time. Again, enter the symbol, set a specific chart name, and if you want to add any comments, you can do that right here. You can add multiple symbols at once. If you have a whole list of ticker symbols that you want to paste in here or type in here, all you've got to do is separate those with a comma or with a line break and add those multiple symbols at once. And then finally, a really important feature, you can actually add symbols from a group. So for instance, if you're interested in creating a chart list that has all of the S&P 500 stocks in it, this is what you can do. You can create a chart list here in ACP, call that S&P 500 members or whatever you want to name it, and then come over to the add symbols box, select from group, make sure that you select S&P 500 and then hit add symbols. That's automatically going to pull in all 500 symbols from the S&P 500 and put that in your new chart list. So some interesting features that you can use here in the add symbols pop-up. Now, if you want to edit this chart, the chart list, you can do that right from this button. We'll show you that on the edit page in just a minute. If you want to delete the chart list, you can do that right here. And if you want to add a new chart list, you can also do that from this little green button over on the right side of the drawer. So that kind of rounds out the summary view. Again, somewhat similar to some of the views that we were looking at there in the sidebar panel, but a few additional features and some nice data improvements, sort of an enhanced data view there, bringing in things like volume, market cap, scooter scores, sector and industry, classifications, all of that right here in the drawer for you. So we'll flip on to a couple of the other tabs. I want to show you some of these other tabs you have available to you. So you've selected your chart list. You've now got your summary view. That's sort of the default view when you open the drawer. But you do also have tabs for chart comments. If you want to make specific comments, leave sort of notes about any of the charts in any of your lists, you can do that right from this chart comments tab. All you've got to do is select the chart from that list. Again, you've got your list selected here and you're selecting a specific chart from within. And then you can type in here and hit save. Those comments will automatically be saved with your chart. There are a couple different places where those shows up. Those comments will show up, but you can save those comments with your charts right here at the bottom in the drawer. A nice feature, especially when you're breezing through a chart list. Maybe you're keeping a watch list. You want us to leave some notes about specific things that you're noticing on a chart, setups, maybe a moving average crossover, any of that kind of thing. If you want to leave those notes, you can sort of attach those to a chart right here in the drawer. Now, similar concept in the list notes tab, you can also leave notes about a specific chart list. So if you want to remind yourself why you created something, maybe leave some notes about some of the things that you're seeing in that chart list, you can do that right here in the drawer as well with the list notes tab. Now, finally, we have the edit view. Now, the edit view is also an important one, sort of a complement to the summary. But when I mentioned, being able to work with your chart list a little bit more in the drawer, this is a great example. The edit view here gives you a lot more room to work with your chart lists. Now, you can click on the name or the symbol to actually load up any of those charts, and you'll see you do have access to the the load symbol only checkbox right here as well. So you can use this edit page to actually sort of pull up some of those charts. But you have some additional features here in the edit view that make it easy to work with your chart lists. So anything that you want to change, you've got some options. You can select anything in the list with these little check boxes, or select everything in the list with the column right at the top. If you hit that little icon, that's going to select everything in the list. Now you notice when I do that, when I select something from the list, these little buttons at the bottom of the screen actually sort of show up. They're grayed out to start, but as soon as I start checking things from this list, these actions become available to me. So these are important actions that you can take with any of the specific charts in any of your chart lists. If you want to select a group of charts, save charts from this list and delete those, you do have a delete button right there. So if you want to delete any of the charts from your list sort of in bulk, either one at a time or in bulk, you can delete charts from a list right here. But you have a couple of other key features, things that I use a ton. These are where you can sort of move things around from list to list. So you can select anything from a chart list and actually copy that to another chart list. You can make a duplicate of those charts, move them on over to another chart list here with the copy charts feature. That's going to leave them in the existing list, but just make copies of them in another list. And all you've got to do is select which list you want to copy those charts to right from this menu. Similar concepts, you can move charts. So that'll actually take them out of their current chart list and move them on over to a new chart list. So you can select which chart list you want to move things to right from here. And then your third option here in sort of the chart moving buttons, you have a merge option. Now, what this is going to do is take those charts, it's going to leave them in the existing list, but it's going to merge them into a new list. So if they already exist in that list, if the symbol already exists in that list, it's going to ignore those. If the symbol doesn't exist in that list, it will add them. So this is kind of a way that you can blend charts into a list. I use the merge function, for instance, after I run a scan. I've actually got lists that I keep for sort of an entire week, and I run scans every day, and I'll actually merge those scan results into the same list every day after the close. So if something was already in there and it triggered the scan results, triggered the scan criteria earlier in the week, it'll sort of get ignored because I've already put it in that list. But if something's new, it'll keep getting added as the week goes on. And when I get to the end of the week, I've actually built up a list of results that triggered that scan criteria sometime during the week. So kind of an interesting way that I personally use the merge feature, but you've got that available to you right there. Now, your last option in this little row is your apply style to all button, a very important one as well. So if you want to change the style, the chart style, the settings, the indicators, the overlays, all of that stuff, if you want to change that for any of your saved charts in a list, you can select it here from the edit view, then click that little paintbrush button and select which chart style you want to apply. So for instance, if you've got a specific chart style, let's say I've got that sort of default one that we were looking at before with the price relative line and the RSI, but let's say I wanted to change a whole bunch of things to that Bollinger Band style that we were looking at. Well, I could select everything in the list, come down here and find my Bollinger Bands chart style, and I could really quickly apply that to everything in the list, everything that I've selected from that list. So the edit page gives you access to a whole bunch of helpful features for working with these chart lists. Now, if you do want to change the name of one at a time, one saved chart at a time, you can click that little pencil icon right in there. Or if you want to delete something, you can also hit the delete button. That'll launch this little pop-up, and you can confirm that you want to delete that chart out of the list. So a couple of helpful features there in the edit view. Now, to sort of round this out, a couple of other things that I want to tell you about the drawer. There are some helpful features. Again, we've designed the drawer really to be kind of the place to work with your chart lists. So when you click that little arrow icon, you notice that it jumps to kind of about a third, maybe halfway up the screen. That's sort of the default drawer position. But we do have some other options for you. If you want to resize this drawer to be anything that you want it to be, you can actually hover over the sort of empty black space on the drawer header. You'll see that the cursor changes a little bit. From here, I can actually click and drag up and down. So I can actually resize this drawer to be any height that I want it to be. So if I want to make it taller, I can just click and drag it up. If I want to make it a little shorter, I can click and drag it down. So you've got that drag to resize feature of the drawer. It makes it really easy to work with that. When you're working with a chart list though, let's say you're really just kind of reviewing things in that summary view, or you're really making some changes there on the edit page, or even leaving a big wall of text, big notes, things like that. You can actually maximize the drawer as well. So that second sort of arrows button maximizes the drawer, takes over the entire screen here in ACP. And so again, if you want to really work with your chart list, see a lot more at once, maybe you're just kind of breezing through, you're sorting something by market cap and you're really kind of breezing through this list, focused a little less on the charts and a little more on the symbols within a specific chart list, this maximize feature is there for you. Now, when you want to get it back, all you've got to do is click that button again. That'll bring it right down to the position that you had before. And if you want to close it, you can close it right there. Now, there is one little icon hidden over on the right side of the screen at the very bottom of the page. You can actually close down the drawer entirely with this little button. So if you do want to get rid of the drawer, give yourself as much charting room as possible, you can look for that little close drawer button at the bottom, in the bottom right corner, and close and open that. But by default, when you first come to ACP now, you will see the drawer header in sort of its minimized form there at the bottom of the screen. So I mentioned that I was going to show off the multi-chart mode. We'll show that really quickly. Now you'll see that I have multi-chart mode turned on. So if I pull up something like my 4-chart layout, that's going to pull 4 charts into the screen at once. Now, when I open this up, you'll see that I have my 4 charts here. And because I've turned on this multi-chart mode feature, when I click something from this chart list, it's going to pull in as many symbols as it can to sort of fill in that layout. Multi-chart mode is turned on when this icon is blue, and it's turned off simply by clicking it again when it's just sort of an outline, when it's not filled in and it's just gray. So I'm going to turn on that multi-chart mode, going to fill it in. It's going to be blue here. And now when I click Microsoft, what's going to happen is we're going to pull in the first 4 charts in this list so that we can sort of fill in this layout. I'll give Microsoft a click. And as you can see, we've now taken the first 4 symbols from this list and we've pulled those into that layout. Now, the active chart up in the sort of the main space is indicated by that little green border. And here in the drawer, it's indicated by a darker blue highlight. But you can see that blue background color on the other charts that are also in that layout. So you can sort of see which charts have been pulled from the drawer, from the list, up into the layout. Now here, you can use those arrows again to sort of page through this list. So we could actually close this down. We have a little more room to work with our charts here. Let's set these, just so we can see them, let's set these to be 6-month charts. And it applied that 6-month range to everything because I've selected that little apply to all checkbox in the range menu. And from here, I can start to page through. So now I can click these buttons and I can just start to sort of page through that chart list. I've selected how I want it to be sorted down in the drawer below. I've actually minimized that down. And from now, I can just sort of page through this list and start flipping through this chart list. Makes it really easy to just kind of flip through a list. If I wanted to keep that drawer open, now the charts are a little bit smaller, but I can do the same thing. I can flip through this list and see where we are in the list with those little blue highlights. Now, I will mention you also have this feature available to you here in the sidebar. So when you turn on multi-chart mode or load symbol only, those are actually kind of synced between the sidebar and the drawer. So when you turn it on in one place, it'll turn on in both. But from here, I could do the exact same thing. I can actually select one chart from here, and you'll see that it kind of fills in that layout with the first 4 charts from this list here in the sidebar. So in either spot, the drawer or the sidebar, you can work with that multi-chart mode. Very, very helpful way to sort of work with your chart lists and this multi-chart layout capability. And again, you can do this with actually up to 12 charts on the screen at once. Tons and tons of capabilities there in ACP with that multi-chart mode. Now, I do want to mention you have a couple other things here in the drawer. It's not just about chart lists. Before we wrap up today's show, you've got this little set of buttons over here on the right. And the last one that we didn't actually look at before is the menu button. So you see that you actually have another option in here as well for StockCharts TV. So as I mentioned, the drawer is not just about chart lists. We're going to be using this for plugins. We're currently using this for Tradier as well and StockCharts TV. So we'll take a look at StockCharts TV right now. But just know you do actually have some other views available to you with this drawer. So very cool stuff there. When you select StockCharts TV, what you can now do is actually watch SCTV and chart the markets at the same time. You can go about all of your charting routines while watching or listening to StockCharts TV right there in the drawer. Very, very cool. I love to do this, for instance, when Dave Keller runs his show, The Final Bar. It's always fun for me as I'm kind of going through my market routines. It's fun to have Dave on there in the drawer, sort of minimized. Actually, one of the ways that I find that I use this is I'll turn on StockCharts TV. I'll hit this play button to start it up, watch the live player. And then I'll actually minimize it. I'll kind of leave it down here at the bottom of the screen, and I'll just listen along as I'm going about my charting. If something sort of catches my ear and I want to see what's going on, what chart a specific technician is referencing, I can just open that back up and take a look. And again, I can even maximize it to sort of take over the full screen. So lots of options here in the drawer. And again, you have that resize capability. So if you want to make it a specific position, maybe you want to just kind of leave it small, but you still want it to be there so you can sort of follow along with what's going on. You can do that here in the drawer as well. So lots of options. Now, the last one that I want to mention is our Tradier brokerage integration. So we're not going to show this off today. I'm not going to log into Tradier and show you how that looks. We did an episode on this a while ago, and it has changed now with some of these updates to the drawer. But just know, you actually have the ability to trade directly from StockCharts ACP via Tradier brokerage. So there's some information about that right here. You can also go to stockcharts.com/Tradier to learn more about that. But we've got a great partnership with Tradier. We've integrated their brokerage platform directly into ACP. all of that lives really within the drawer. So all of the trading interface, your portfolio, the options chain, you can actually trade options through Tradier here in ACP as well. All of that good stuff lives in the drawer. So that really is kind of the home for all of your Tradier brokerage tools and features and everything that we've built in as part of that. So lots of good stuff here in the drawer, lots of new enhancements. Hopefully this has given you a sense of kind of what you can do and how important this drawer space really is. Now, as I mentioned, as I keep saying, we are going to continue to make the drawer even better. I've seen some of the things that are on the roadmap. I am thrilled with it. We're going to bring additional data views. Think about, additional tabs coming here in the drawer for things like performance, things like technicals and fundamental data. We're going to be bringing all of that into the drawer very soon. The other thing that we're going to be doing is actually opening this up to our plugin partners. We have a couple of plugin partners that are very interested in building some new features, new visualizations right into the drawer. So plugins are excited to use the drawer space that we're continuing to build out. So lots coming to ACP, lots more happening. And because we are continuing to enhance this drawer space, it's only getting better and better. So hopefully today's show has given you a great sense of some of the things that you can do with ACP, some of the new features that we've just added with this drawer. As I mentioned, you also have in that drawer the ability to look at your SharpCharts, ChartLists. So a new feature there for some of our SharpCharts users that want to go and explore ACP. You do have the ability to view your SharpCharts chart list either in the sidebar, as we showed at the start of the show, or you can pull those up in the drawer, actually get that sort of full data view, click on any of those, get versions of those charts right there in ACP. And you can even save those SharpCharts lists as ACP lists. It makes it really easy to sort of convert from one world to the next. But we love what we've done with the drawer. Hopefully this has given you a good sense of kind of where we're going, where we're taking things. Hopefully has given you a sense of how this can boost your workflow there with chart lists as well, especially with some of those edit features, different sort features, things like that. But I know we covered a ton on today's show. Hopefully it's given you a good sense though of what is happening around ACP and what you can do with these exciting changes to the platform. Now, remember, we do this show every Friday. I always love to remind everyone we do this show every Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time on StockCharts TV. Also up on our YouTube channel after that though, and the on-demand platform at StockChartsTV.com. So really this show is here to help you see things that are happening around the site, help you see different tools and features that you might not be familiar with, and ultimately just help you get more value out of StockCharts. That's our mission here every Friday, just showing you different corners of the site, showing you how things work, showing you how to get set up, some tips, tricks from my own use of StockCharts as well as an active investor. So lots of things that we cover here on StockCharts in Focus. But if you are new to the show, if this is your first episode, thanks for joining. Hopefully we will see you again for another episode of StockCharts in Focus next week. But a lot to cover in the next couple of weeks too. We've got some other exciting features rolling out, a brand new plugin, especially from Go No Go. I hinted at that last week, so that's going to be coming out very soon. So definitely tune back in for next week's show. We got some exciting things happening around the site and in the weeks and months to come. So I want to thank you again for joining me on today's episode of StockCharts in Focus. Again, my name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts. I will see you again very soon for the next episode of StockCharts in Focus. But until then, chart on, my friends.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.